I had somebody ask when I posted a video showing pinhole poked in a piece of paper to show the eclipse. I had a comment, somebody asking, how does that work? They wanted an explanation. So I offer this to them as quickly as possible. It turns out, and I taught science for years to middle schoolers, so this was familiar territory for me. And I always did this experiment, this demonstration each year where I would make a pinhole camera out of my classroom. So this would be like my classroom over here. And I would basically block out all the light except for one window, and I would make a small, like half a foot diameter hole in some cardboard that I was covering up the windows with. And it turns out, if you think about it, every room that only has one window is actually a pinhole camera. And the effects, you know, even if you have multiple windows, you are essentially seeing the same thing, you just don't realize it. If you know what to look for, you might notice, let's say you were in a room with just one window and something really dramatic like a school bus, big and yellow, went by. You would actually see the blurry image of a school bus over here. It would be through there, and the truth would be the image that's trying to form of the front of the school bus would be here, but it would also be there, because think about all the directions you can draw the rays of light that are coming from the front end of this school bus. They can end up in all these different places all at once. And so that's why the image is really blurry. If your window is nice and big, like most windows, the image of the front end is spread out blurry over this whole area. And every point, I could do the same thing with every point. This point would end up over here, and the limit of that would be over there. And in other words, the back end of the school bus would be able to cast its image from here to there and range as much as like that. So the back end of the school bus would be blurry over this way, and the front end would be blurry, and every point in between would be doing the same thing. And as the school bus moves, those images would move too. So now the front end would be blurry over here, and the back end would be blurry more over there. And as it keeps going, you'd see, the interesting thing is that the image of the school bus would go the opposite direction on your wall. It'd be a big blurry orange blob on the wall. Now, if you shrink the window, in other words, make it, you know, cover it up with cardboard such that it's a lot smaller, then the image of the school bus is actually sharper but darker is what you'd notice. And the reason for that is now the image of the front end would be constrained to a much smaller area on the wall. All those points could still be blurry, but much less so. The front end would be essentially blurry in this much of the area, and then the back end of the school bus would be projected clear over here, still opposite, you know, the front end over here, the back end over there, so the image would be backwards, but less blurry for sure. And you'd have the back end of the school bus, and you have to understand every point in between. I haven't drawn every point in between because that'd be an endless job, but every point in between, every window would project itself, and the image, you know, it's worth noting, it would be, the color would come through and everything. And then if you make this even smaller, let's say you go ahead and take it to the next step, which is what I would do in the classroom. I had all these different sizes of cardboard that I could cover it up with. Let's say you get down eventually to an actual pinhole. Well, now the front end can stray very little. It still can stray some because the size of the hole has to be, it's not like it can, you know, you can't make an infinitely small pinhole. You've got to let some light in, but it'll be much sharper. And what I ended up doing with, to really demonstrate it, was I would go ahead and make a pinhole in a piece of tinfoil, and then it was so dark in the room, I would use a piece of paper up close, and then it was astoundingly sharp. So that's why when I used a pinhole in a piece of paper during the eclipse, I could see the actual shape of the crescent, and it was very clear.